and I am calling or hanging out with you from Bozeman, Montana, and thrilled to have you with us. There might be a little confusion with the link here, so I want to apologize, and I'm just seeing people haven't shown up yet, so, let's see, what do we do here? Maybe we'll put, honey, would you put a message on Enlighten Networking and say, check the new link? We have a new link. And all is well, so we're just going to get started, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. We want to thank you for taking the time to be with us at Enlighten Networking. Gregory and I started Enlighten Networking several years ago to really give people support in their personal and professional life to be successful in network marketing, to grow personally, and to do it in a way that really is authentic and connected to what's important to you. And so we have brought this back in the Hangout version, and I'm just learning about Hangouts, so thank you for your patience as I'm in my learning curve. And today is a very special day because we get to do a very special interviewer with one of my new friends and great professionals here in network marketing. So before we get started, I just want to share a few things. We get together here every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific for about an hour, and if you can't make it live, that's fine, because we do have links available afterward, and we'll post those on the Enlighten Networking Facebook page. If you're not part of that page, whoever invited you to this, make sure that they get you connected to that group, and we will have all the links and everything there for you. We will be using that page today if you do have questions, so know that as we're learning on this, we're going to make it easier and easier for everyone and give more and more notice. So it will get better, but we started, and that was the wonderful thing. And Hangouts are a wonderful way, Google Hangouts are a wonderful way to be together and get to see faces, and we get to see who's on lines. Oh, good, people are joining us. Thank you, you're finding the new link. That's great. Wonderful to have you. Thanks for being with us. So we will continue to give you schedules ahead of time. Today we have a special interview. Next week we're going to turn the tables with the interviewing. Moni's going to interview me. Then following that, we're going to have a wonderful session with an expert in social media strategy and building personal brands, and that's very exciting. And following that, we have an interview set up with an expert who teaches people the value of having a home-based business, and it's really how to win the text game and learning the things to keep track of and what's important and how to really enjoy the journey and the tremendous benefits. That actually becomes a recruiting call also. So now it's time to get started, and it is my pleasure to introduce a woman that I met several months ago, and instantly just resonated with her, actually fell in love with her, love where she's coming from, you know, a consummate professional in network marketing, and the more I've gotten to know her, the better it's become, and we've just kind of realized that listening to people out there in the field, there was something else that was wanted. We really want to give people support no matter where you are in this business model. If you're brand new, have never done networking before, or have done it before, haven't been successful, have done it before and have been successful, how to be even more successful and enjoy this journey that both of us love in this wonderful, wonderful profession. So it is my pleasure to bring on board Moni Patterson from Columbus, Ohio. Welcome, Moni.
Well, thank you, Robin. Hello, everybody. I'm really excited about today. We've been really looking forward to this and excited to share from my heart with everyone. And hopefully they will get some things that will be useful to help them out. So this is a lot of fun. We had an amazing kickoff last week. And so I'm really excited about today, too. And all that's going to have to come. There's lots to come.
Yeah, really lots to come. Yeah, last week was our inaugural event, and we do have a link for that on the Enlighten Networking Facebook page, and anyone's welcome to see that. And we are very open to your input of what you want to hear and learn about, and we have lots of other people to schedule as guests and all kinds of different trainings to offer. So let's just jump in with Moni, and I know you've got a fascinating background, Moni Patterson. Could you just share a little bit prior to getting involved in this great profession of network marketing, a little bit about your background and what brought you to this wonderful profession?
Well, that's a wonderful question, Robin. I'm happy to share that. Well, before I started in networking, I worked in nonprofit for well over a decade. And I worked for some major national nonprofit organizations, and I dealt with legislative advocacy. So I was really an advocate for people, and I did a lot of work within the state legislature and also within the federal legislature, in particular helping people with disabilities, and also helping other causes that really help to save lives within the community and also make lives a lot easier. And so there's a lot of things that exist today that I'm very proud of, that I was able to be the one who initiated those things. And I used to take volunteer groups and I would teach them how to navigate through the legislature, and then we would take trips to DC and we would go and visit our congressmen, and it was amazing to me how many people were unaware of what they could do in order to affect change, and how much it meant for them to be able to use their voice. And so that was what I did for many years, and it was extremely rewarding. And there's a couple of reasons why I decided to get into networking. One of them was because I really missed being at home with my children. They were growing up, and for me, I just really wanted an opportunity to kind of design my life around them. And I remember one day, I thought a lot about being an entrepreneur. I mean, I always had an entrepreneur spirit, but I just wasn't, I just never took that step. I was comfortable and I was enjoying what I was doing. And I remember when I was in DC one day, and I've told this story many times, but I kept getting phone calls, back-to-back phone calls. And I thought something was wrong. And I kept, looking, and I finally said, okay, Senator Voinovich, would you mind excusing me for just one moment? I know that, we're taking your precious time, but I'm getting calls from home, and I need to make sure that everything was okay. And, so I stepped out, for a moment, and I'm like, what's going on? Is everything okay? He hit me, and could you tell him to leave me alone? And, and I want something to eat, and Dad doesn't cook like you cook, Mom. And, it was all of those things. And, and I thought about it. I said, you know what? At the end of the day, all they wanted was me. And it wasn't about the issue. It was, Mom, we miss you. That was the underlying message. And I missed them. When I was gone, it was very difficult. There were times when I had to be gone, around birthdays and things, because that's just the way it was scheduled. And so I had thought about it for a long time. What do I, want to do here? And, we had just built a brand new home, had it custom built. We loved every part of it and had finished designing everything. And my husband was at work, and he loves being an outdoorsman and doing things with his hands. And he was at work, and he fell off of a ladder. It was raining that day. And when he fell off of the ladder, he tore all of the ligaments in his ankle. And he had to have 3 surgeries, back to back. He just had to keep having surgeries in order to repair that, and they weren't sure how much use he was going to be able to have of it. And at that point, I remember somebody sharing this networking thing with me, and they were talking to me about residual income, and I never really took it seriously. And so, and the reason why I didn't was because I felt that I was doing well, and, it was a shock to the system to realize how quickly we began to run through our savings and how unprepared we really were. We thought we were more prepared than we actually were. And so that's when I began to go back and say, how can I prepare for the what ifs? How can I, because when life happened, we didn't expect it to happen. I didn't expect it to happen. We had everything, and life was good, outside of missing the children. From a financial standpoint and from all outward and inward appearances, things were amazing. And that caused me to really reflect and say, you know what, I can't really afford to be gone, as much as I'm gone. My husband needs me right now. I need to find something that I can do so that I can be here to take care of him, while he's unable to fully care for himself. And it'll also give me an option to take care of my children. So it was at that time I began my transition. I started then, I actually started by starting a daycare center. And I said that would be the quickest way that I could, have my children around, have them, play an integral part, in helping me, and then I can teach them. So, because I knew I wanted to do the homeschooling thing with them, and so I figured, okay, this is my way of being able to really, literally, kind of form a classroom within the home. So we transitioned. We had this huge space, that we transitioned into a daycare center, and it filled up really, really, really quickly, and it allowed me to kind of do a little bit of both, take care of my husband, and also do what I needed to do for my children as a mother. But obviously that wasn't as fulfilling as I had hoped that it would be, because it's still, that's a lot of children to deal with. And, I think that kids think I'm a toy, because, when it's time for nap time, they're still, Miss Moni, we want to play, and, let's play that game again. And I was beginning to get exhausted. I was missing my professional life. I was missing grown-up time and grown-up conversation. And I wanted some of that back. And so that's when I started making those phone calls saying, okay, this residual income opportunity thing I need to learn some more about. And that's the history of how I first started in network marketing. I knew that I wanted to transition and have some more free time, but still take care of the things that I needed to take care of at home.
Wow. This is the first time I've heard this story, Moni, and it's interesting the background that you come from, being an advocate for the people. And that's really true in our profession, too, because the most successful people help their people get their voice and be their own advocates and realize that they can actually affect change in their life. And for you to have the experience you had with your husband, thinking everything was okay, and I think that's so true of so many people, realizing, when we're in it, we don't realize until something happens that having a plan B, having multiple sources of income, because most people do this profession of network marketing part-time. And that's one of the things I love about it, is the opportunity to work part-time and have a life-changing income that if something does happen, you can put more attention into it. And, it sounds like you were living in a lot of questions, and I think prayers too, of what's next? How can I really live life and be of greatest support to those that I love most, my family? That call from the kids, that's a wake-up call in many ways, and I think many mothers, and that's why this profession has been such a great one for mothers and people that want to, live, and anyone who really wants to live their lives in alignment with what is most important. And for many of us, it is our values with, our loved ones, our friends and family, and taking care of all those things. So how did you find, you found this profession, you were looking for something that you could do, you could have professional affiliations, because you are clearly a professional, and it's wonderful being with kids, but sometimes some of us want to have a full sentence and complete adult conversations. And how did you go about finding a company that was a fit for you?
Well, I had never heard of such a thing, and I actually simply just went back to the people who were calling me before, and I just said, tell me about what you're doing, because I need to know what you're doing, because I knew that I always wanted balance. I wanted to be able to have the best of both worlds, and growing up, I didn't know that I could. I didn't know that it was possible. So for me, it was going back and making those phone calls and saying, okay, now I'm ready to listen. So I was one of those people who initially was like, oh, good for you. That's awesome. Keep doing your thing. Best of luck. And but I wasn't ready. But the time came when I was. And so I was living proof of no doesn't always mean no as a final answer. It may just mean not right now. The timing just wasn't right. And so I went back and revisited those phone calls, because I kept hearing, oh, you've got the personality for it. Oh, you would do great, And in my mind, I don't want to be a salesperson. I'm a people's advocate. I'm a cause-driven woman, I just didn't know that I could affect change on this level. I didn't realize the level of personal development that actually happens in this space. And so the more I learned that personal development happens in this space, the better, because that personal development began with me. I started off very much uncoachable. I was very uncoachable because I come from leading. I mean, I was in charge of the entire state of Ohio for advocacy. And so,
Wow.
you know, I was used to leading the charge and being the one who's, standing and giving testimony, and I'm the one who's downtown in public square, and I'm standing there giving these speeches, and, I'm giving testimony before the Senate. So for me to sit back and listen to someone say, you know what, you should use me for a three-way call to help you explain this business, and I would be like, what do I need you for? I know how to explain this business. So I didn't follow the system for a long time, and I started watching people who were brand new but were coachable come in and just soar right past me. And I'm like, okay, what's the deal? So finally, after a lot of failure, I said, all right, teach me. I'm open.
I love that, Moni, because the path you were on was a path that so many people go through. Is started because this business model, and I think you learned it viscerally and experientially, is a different animal than traditional business. And so when you grow up, where many of us did, I did also, in a conventional business model, and then you switch, it's important to be a student and to be coachable and to learn that this is different. And you mentioned personal development, how important that was. So, and I want to make a point here, because Moni said something really, really important. A lot of people reached out to her saying she'd be the perfect kind of person for this business, and she kept their names and numbers. And she said timing has to be right. So when you're reaching out to people, I know that a lot of people don't think about reaching out to certain people because it looks like they have it all together. And honestly, you never know. Like what happened with Moni and her family, it can happen to anyone. And things change. So the timing does change for people. And just say, would it be okay if I stay in touch with you? Because things may change in the future. And Moni kept those people's names and numbers, because what we're looking for is exactly what Moni shared. We're looking for people that are looking for what we have to offer. So when you talk to these people, Moni, how did you know which was the right company for you to join?
Well, I looked for what resonated with me, what I could, what felt right, what felt harmonious. I'm a person who I've never been good at sharing things that I don't believe in. I just have never been good at that. I've seen lots of models that, and lots of things that may pay out a lot, but if it didn't resonate with me, if I didn't know that it was something where everybody could win, from the person who had been doing it for a long time to the person who was brand new at it, I looked at everything. And so I very much have a holistic approach when I'm looking for a company. And I look to see, even from a business standpoint, and I think that's where my business experience did help to a degree in making a decision, because it did help me to look at it from a business standpoint to say, okay, is this something that the market would be looking for? Is how many people could use this? What would be my target market? Who would I be sharing this with? And in what way would I be sharing this? And so I'm an extremely social person, and so I love the opportunity to get out and touch and shake hands and give hugs and share, in that manner. And so when I looked at a little bit of everything, and I looked to see which one best harmoniously fit with who I was as an individual, because if I can't get passionate about it, that's what I would consider a weakness of mine. I suppose if I don't get passionate about it, I can't do it, and it has to be a win-win for everybody involved.
Well, I hope everyone really heard that. And in this business model, I think so many people end up in network marketing kind of by accident or divine intervention, whatever you want to call it. And what Moni did is what we recommend everyone do, is do your research, because you want to find all those pieces. You want to find a product that you have belief in. You want to find a situation, an opportunity where there's a demand for it at that time. You want to make sure that the kind of people it would attract are the kind of people you want in your life. We are a choice here. This is our business. And I know Gregory says often, he goes, you can change the marketing plan, you can change the products, you can change the compensation, but you can't change the hearts of the owners. And so learning who's behind the business is also really important too. And you mentioned belief. I personally believe that belief is the cornerstone of all of our success, and it's belief in ourselves, belief in the product, belief in the company, and belief in the profession. Moni, would you talk a little bit about your perspective on how important belief is in this business model?
And sure, belief is everything. I believe it's the foundation of what we do, because if you don't believe it, let me just kind of back up a little bit. This is the way that I share with people. Belief, in my opinion, is an energy, and you can go and you can share your business with people, and they will know instinctively if you don't really believe what you're saying, if you don't really believe in your opportunity, or if you think something's a little off. I think a lot of times we call it women's intuition, but I think what the core of that, or even men's intuition, but I think at the core of that is belief. You know, that is the foundation, because you have to sell yourself first. You have to believe it before anyone else will believe it. So it's not just about having a great skill set. It's not just about, you know, having product knowledge and being proficient and being able to share information. It's not just about that. It has to come from here. I believe that success is an inside job, and that has to start with belief. And it has to start with belief in you before it has to start with belief in the company. And so you have to believe, A, that you can. And you have to believe that even if you are not at a certain place in your skill set yet, that you will get there. And you have to believe that you will make it. So you have to see that in you first. And also you have to believe that as far as your company goes, the integrity of your owners, like you were saying, the integrity of the products, you have to be able to believe in those things. Otherwise, sooner or later, you will fizzle out. There's only so much you can do to convince yourself, and only so many times you can convince yourself and keep picking yourself up from doubt. And so for me, I just believe that it is everything, and it is the core to your success. You know, a person who may not know everything about a compensation plan but believes that they will make it will run farther than a person who doesn't have all of the information. They believe and they are excited, and it's that thing that propels you when things get tough, because inevitably things will get tough. You know, it will be difficult sometimes, and you know, you have to have that, because that is your stability. That's what keeps you grounded, and that's what keeps you propelling forward even in times when it's tough.
Wow, I hope everybody heard that one, because there's a line that we use: ignorance on fire is much more powerful than knowledge on ice. And we've seen so many people that learn, but they've got the fire, they've got the passion, they've got the belief, and it's a magnetic quality. It just attracts people, want to be around it. And I do believe, and we're going to get into that in just a minute, about, you know, what you attribute your success to, Moni, because you've had so much. And I'd love to hear more about once you got into the business and you made the shift in your awareness that you needed to be more coachable and do things a little bit differently than you had done in your conventional successful world as being a leader. For people that are starting brand new, and we know that there's many of you out there that this profession is brand new to you, or maybe you just haven't had the success before because you haven't had the right kind of support or education. You know, are there things that, as you're such a student, Moni, are there things that helped you get yourself really educated to learn about this profession that you'd like to share with people?
Yes, I think, you know, one of the most important things was when I made the decision to be humble and to not think that I could bring my other business knowledge into this profession. And the point that you made was was so on point, because it was night and day. You know, I thought that everything that I did, you know, in leading the charge, you know, with the nonprofits. I thought that everything I did when I came home, you know, when I owned the daycare center, it was extremely successful and extremely profitable right out the gate. And so I think a lot of that kind of was like, okay, I got this whole business thing. But going over and switching over, once I made that decision to shift my consciousness and be willing to sit down in the student seat and, you know, not feel like I know everything, it began to shift everything. And I love reading, and I'm an information junkie. You know, my husband says that about me all the time because I love to research and I love to learn new things. It's, you know, I would rather learn something than sit back and watch something on television. I'm kind of, as my friends say, I'm a little nerdy like that. But but when that happened, it shifted everything. I began to invest in myself. You know, I began to, if someone was successful already, I highly esteem that person, and I'm still like that today because I learned that there was so much value in being willing to sit down and say, teach me. And to first have that spirit from me, that consciousness of saying, teach me, use me. And those were the biggest things for me, because once I came into the teach me and then use me mindset, I was able to look at everyone as if they came to teach me something. And when I came from that space saying, you know, I honor who you are and what you are here to show me, now I learned to look at everyone and say, you know what, there may be a tidbit that I could learn from someone who's brand new in this industry. There is something I can learn from someone who's been in here a long time. There's someone I can look at, you know, who maybe have the same amount of tenure and success that I have, and I still have the attitude of saying, teach me, and then from that I go out to serve, saying, use me. And that is the biggest thing for me. And when it shifted in that way, I began to learn so much, and I learned a lot about myself. I learned that there were things I thought I was comfortable with that I wasn't. You know, reaching out to brand new people, you know, being willing to, you know, there were certain things that I might have been good at, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I can do that. I was comfortable with that. But the things that I wasn't comfortable with, I was a little bit shy about, you know, and that took a lot of courage for me to reach out to people, particularly people who I perceived as being successful already, and maybe not, you know, wanting to talk to someone who was new like me, you know, in the industry. I was very cautious about reaching out to those who I thought had it all together. But you brought up a great point in that you never know what someone has going on in their life, you know. And so I learned to get uncomfortable and get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because, you know, Farrah Gray has a great quote, and he says, comfort is the enemy of achievement. And it is so true. Comfort is the enemy of achievement. And so the more comfortable I was, the more uncomfortable I became with my comfort, if that makes sense. I'd say, okay, you know, when I'm getting to the place where I feel like I'm on easy street, you know, I'm like, okay, I got this part. I've got this down 3 ways, boom, no problem. You know, sponsoring, boom, no problem. Then I'm like, okay, there's something that I need to do to continue to take myself up another notch and to another level. And so I began to just get uncomfortable with being comfortable. And so that was something that was really huge for me. And so the more I began to look at people in the industry who had had success, and the more I began to open myself up to say, what's working for you, whether the person was new, whether the person was, you know, like I said, an expert, you know, in a professional in this space. I keep myself in that space of being what I call a seeker and a student, and it made everything a lot more comfortable, because I don't have to come to people like I'm a know-it-all. I do have a lot of information, but I share that willingly, but I also receive it just as much as I share it. And so it ends up being this beautiful reciprocal relationship that I find that this industry is oftentimes.
Well, there was so much in what you just said, Moni. I want to capture a little bit and summarize it, because I want everyone to get some of these key points. I love being comfortable with being uncomfortable, because learning and stretching and growing, because this is truly a personal development program with a compensation plan. And I do ask people when I'm qualifying them to see if I want to work with them, are you ready to change? You know, you say you're complaining about where you are you really ready to make a difference? And you talked about TV, and there's a fun quote from our business, there's no BV in TV. And so I think for lots of people to realize that one of the most valuable things we could do is to continue to work on ourselves, because as we talked about last week, you know, work twice as hard on yourself than your business, because you are your business. Mm-hmm. And Moni's humbleness of really realizing that there's something to learn from everyone. And it doesn't matter who they are. It may be that they're not successful at all, and there's things to learn there, and saying, wonder what they're doing. And I remember when I got started, I did it all wrong. I didn't have anyone to model after. And you said you were looking for people that that you respected and that were successful, and ask them what's working. What are you doing? And I love that constant mindset of being open and willing. What do you call it? Seeking and what's that? Seeking and serving, or
Yes.
yes, because it is a business about being in service. Truly, the most successful people are truly servant leaders in our business. So we're looking and then we're serving. And the more people we serve, the more successful we are. So investing in ourselves. And could you share a little bit about what does that mean? In addition to doing the reading and asking, I know that investing time, investing resources, that may be a new concept for some people. Can you tell a little bit more about what that means?
Yes, absolutely. For me, my journey to investing in myself was investing time. It was investing a lot of time and more time, but more importantly, I invested my income and resources and finances. If there was a course or a workshop, or even being a part of a community of like-minded people, I did that, and I sat back, and sometimes you'll notice as people get to know me, there are times, that I talk, and there are other times that I sit back and I observe and I listen and I absorb. And those to me are the most important things, because there may be someone, the advent of the internet was not as it is now. When I was first starting, it definitely wasn't, for me at least. It might have been out there and might have been huge, but I'm relatively new to this whole internet world, and now I love Google. I call it Google University, like so many people do, because there's nothing that you can't go out there and learn. And now with the advent of YouTube and all these other things, there are so many people out there that you can just get on YouTube and learn from, and I still do that. I take a lot of time, not just for networking, but I take a lot of time with personal development, how to communicate effectively with people. I spent a lot of time learning how the human mind makes decisions, so that when I'm talking, I'm not, just pouring these words all over people, but I'm understanding, how to share with them my story and to see if we can have a harmonious fit. Instead of looking and say, oh, I've got to have somebody in my business, I've got to get this many people, today, and I've got to do this because I really want to qualify. I removed all of those pressures and simply went seeking to connect. And so I wanted to learn how to do those things, how to connect in a way that people would resonate, how to connect in a way that when I spoke with them, they didn't feel that they had to say, okay, don't come and sell me anything, And so when I went and I learned those things, and I learned about the subconscious mind and how it works and how we, are programmed, I went and I studied all of those things. So I didn't just look at network marketing per se. I looked at what could make me more complete, because all of those things help me with how to relate to my family, how to relate to my children. So all of those things make you a more well-rounded person. And so when I go out, I look at all of those things on how I can make myself better in the in knowledge that I have about my profession, but more importantly, how to simply connect. And that's really what it was more about for me. And so I had someone ask me one time, and they said, well, Moni, what's your secret? And I said, I don't have a secret. My secret is, if you want to call it one, is that I genuinely care about people, and they know it. And when that happened, it's just, the business just was an organic growth process, because we began to enjoy each other and enjoy being able to share together and make money together in the process. And it almost kind of felt unreal, like this is real, this is really possible that we can do this. It's just one of those things that ended up being an absolute blast, because it helped me tremendously. And then the friendships I developed just were so enriching. And so that was my secret. I said one day I'm going to write a book, and don't you guys steal this, but I'm going to call it Loving My Way to Millions or something like that, where I just simply loved people, connected with them, and I went seeking to serve and to never lie to them. And because people trust me and they know that I'm going to always look out for their best interests, it just has been a natural byproduct of growth and success. So I don't think that's any secret. I think it's just what it is.
Well, it's not a secret, and I think it's really good to share it more often because there's so many tools and so many techniques, but when it comes down to it, it's all about connecting with people, and you said it so beautifully. Your success is based on your love and care for people. You're curious about them, and you talked about, listening, and, I believe I shared this in the past, that in my work in leadership development, when I look at the qualities and characteristics of a leader and I'd put it up on the board in every seminar that I did, in the top 5, listening was always there. And, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that's a clue. We're supposed to listen twice as much. And that is a skill and an attitude that's so important to learn, and I invite everyone to be, because that will make a huge difference in every dimension of your life. And this is a relationship business. And that Jim Rohn quote, or whoever it is, I think it was Jim, is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So when people really realize that you're coming to them because you care about them and you're not jumping on them with a product or an opportunity or anything, but it's first and foremost about who they are, what's important to them, where they are, where they want to go. And then see, are you open to hear about something that might be able to support you making that transition from here to there? And then, of course, people are going to say they're open because, and many of you know I have a Covey background, so Stephen Covey quotes fall out of my mouth on a regular basis, and he said, to be influential, allow yourself to be influenced first. And that's one of the things Moni does so beautifully. And so, being genuine, and you talked about caring for your people because they know you, they love you, they trust you, and they know that they can count on you. And that's truly, trust is a key ingredient in our profession. So how about we switch into a few more training pieces, because you grew, you shifted, you humbled, and you became successful in this profession. So in addition to the connecting, what are some of the key things that you learned along the way, in addition to those that you would say made some big shifts in your ability to be really successful in the field and successful as a leader? Are you there? Moni. She disappeared. Hopefully she'll come back. I hope you guys can hear me. So I'm going to wait till Moni checks back in here. She disappeared for a minute. And I do want to share a few more things about what she talked about, because loving her way to millions, and that is a really beautiful, beautiful way to hold it. When we love people, they get it. They really get it. And people, this wonderful, another Covey quote coming. I can feel it coming. The deepest need, and people love this quote, the deepest need of the human soul is to be appreciated, acknowledged, affirmed, and understood. People really, and that's one of the beauties of this profession, is many people come to our profession because it's a place where they get to be part of something, be part of a community. There's the products, there's the business, but there's also the community. And the way we appreciate people, the way we take care and we listen to people, the way we acknowledge people and support their successes, it's the little successes that can make a huge difference, especially if someone's never had that before. It's like, and people sit up stronger and feel prouder, and it has a definite impact on self-esteem. So let's see what else Moni talked about. The investment in yourself, and I think she's coming back to us, so that's great. Moni, are you back? Soon. I think she's coming back. So the investing in yourself, and it is time. Are you there with us, Moni? Oh, good.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yep, we see ya.
Sorry
Okay.
about that. Somehow I got kicked off the whole thing. My apologies.
Well, you're back, so I had to fill in a little bit, but go for it, because there's some other shifts you made in your career, because what happens is we continue, as Moni said, to keep growing and growing and growing, getting into a new place, a new place, a new place. So can you remember some of those other shifts you made that made a significant difference in the success in your business, Moni?
Absolutely. I stopped treating it, I think, like a hobby
Oh,
because,
that's a big
I
one.
wasn't consistent. I wasn't consistent and I was not very organized. I kind of, I was a social butterfly, so I could talk to everyone and anyone, but I was not, you know, I think I didn't realize the magnitude of what the industry could provide for me initially. So I had to learn really quickly about being organized. And I'll tell you a quick little story about that. I remember there was a time that I showed up at a convention and I saw a woman that I had been communicating with off and on, but I think I had lost her phone number or something. I don't remember. And I remember seeing her there and I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? And she said, well, you never followed up with me, and then this person called me and of course I'm just like, oh gosh, and it was a huge lesson and I said, okay, never again. I'm going to make sure that I plan, do, check, and adjust. So one of the things that I do is I have a notebook, and when I communicate with someone, I know exactly who it was that I communicated with, the method in which I communicated with them, if I communicated with them via social media, whether it was via email, whether we actually spoke on the phone. If I left a voicemail message on their machine, I know when I did it and what time I did it so that I can always follow back. And so my chart always tells me who I contacted, because what happens in this business is you can end up doing a lot of busy work and think that you're busier than you actually are, and think that you are making more progress than you actually are. And keeping it written and keeping it organized and actually treating it like a professional business actually does more to show you not only where you actually are, it also shows you what you're actually doing on a consistent basis. And that really helped me, and it helps me help other people now, because they'll say, oh, Moni, I've talked to so many people and they're just not interested. And I'll say, really? So how many did you talk to? Had to be at least 3 or 4, and so it's like, well, you didn't really, decide to be in business. And that's a decision, isn't it? A lot of times, we think that we have, just because we signed up and we paid our money and we've gotten, our recurring orders coming in, we believe, you know what? I'm in business. But business is as business does. And so, you have to be consistent and be organized and make your phone calls. And I tell people all the time, there's no lifeblood like new blood, in your business. And so that helped me tremendously, because I had already gotten to the place where I was really increasing my closing ratio tremendously as I began to understand how to connect with people. But then I had to take care of the other side of it and treat my business as such. And so planning accordingly. If I knew that it would take me reaching out to, let's say, 10 new people a day, brand new people a day, in order to get X number of signups. Everybody has a ratio. At the end of the day, you can figure out what your closing ratio is based upon the number of people that you contact and the number of people that you close. And I never considered a contact someone that I did not get a chance to speak to. And so for me, it was never a contact unless we had a conversation. It wasn't enough for me to say, I posted on Facebook, I just reached out to 5,000 people. That was a way to hide. I had to have a conversation in order for it to count. And so being able to learn to discipline myself in that manner was a lot, it had a lot to do with my progress, a lot to do with it, because it made me actually look at my numbers, look at what I'm doing, and then I could give myself reachable goals based upon what I was willing to do.
Well, Moni, Oh my goodness. Again, there's so much richness here. I want to summarize a little bit. The first thing I heard you say, well, it didn't come out first, but it did kind of come out first, was you made a decision to treat it like a business. And I hope everyone hears that. The point of entry is typically very, very, very low for an opportunity that that absolutely has no limits. And so sometimes people treat it like a hobby, and hobbies are wonderful, but hobbies are typically expenses. They don't generate income. So taking it serious that this is a multi-million-dollar opportunity and to treat it like a business. So learning what are the business skills and keeping track of people, having your own systems. You might be a digital person, you might be a notebook person, but be consistent in how you keep track of people and know how to find them when you do that. And you can talk to several people on how they do that, which is really, really valuable too. The consistency is really important also, that every single day that we each know what are income producing activities, and being consistent that every day, if we're wanting to build a business, that we do something that's actually an income producing activity. Going out and being a social butterfly may not do that. Making a post that reaches lots and lots of people may not do that. But like you said, having a personal connection with either in person or on the telephone, it counts. And you also said something that I think a lot of people resist, and I invite each one of you to start tracking, because everyone has a conversion rate. And I learned this years ago from Michael Gerber, and if anyone met Michael Gerber, he wrote a book called The E-Myth, The Entrepreneurial Myth, and I worked with him in the early days. We had to track everything. So we each knew how many people we have to talk to get them to an invitation to come to the seminar, how many people actually came, how many people do we do a follow-up with, of the follow-ups, how many actually became clients. So we knew exactly what our conversion rates is, and we make up in numbers what we lack in skill. And the more experience I hear you saying you got, the higher your conversions became. And so this is a numbers game, and we invite everyone to really learn what are your personal conversions, because then you can really figure out how long is it going to take. How many contacts do you need to make to get to the kind of income you want? So let's see, what else did you say? Oh, Moni, why don't you talk a little bit more about the importance of the follow-up, other than having someone you contacted show up in someone else's business?
That was, looking back on it now, it's kind of humorous, but it was a lesson well learned. Yeah, it was definitely a lesson well learned. This industry, for those of you who are familiar with it, we always say that the fortune is in the follow-up. And if you go back to how I got started in this industry in the first place, I want to tell a quick story if I can. Sure. One of the times I learned the extreme value of following up, there was a time someone found me on the internet. Okay, and he began to have a conversation. We're a part of some kind of social networking model or something, but it wasn't a company, but it was a place where people could meet. Okay, and he contacted me, and he began to ask me a lot of questions. His name was Mark. I'll never forget it. And at the time, I was very happy with the company that I was with. And Mark said, you know what, well, is it okay, like you were saying before, if we keep in touch? And I said, you know what, sure, not a problem. And he goes, how about I see how you're doing a year from now? And I said, sure, Mark, not thinking that Mark was actually going to call back. And what was so interesting to me about his level of professionalism is he called back 1 year to the day, exact date. He was able to tell me, I didn't even remember him, and the only way that I knew that we had talked for sure, he was able to tell me everything that I told him that he would have had no way of knowing. And he had gone to the point of, he says, are you still doing such and such and such? I remember, and I'm going, this is amazing. But at that time, he said, I promised you I would call you back a year from now to see how you were. And I said, you did? I said, that was really amazing. And it showed me, number one, how professional he was to take notes while we were talking. He actually cared about being able to get to know me enough so that when we connected again, he was able to share with me things, that I had to have told him about myself. When he asked me what I looked for in a company, he was able to tell me all of those things, and then to see, are you open yet? Okay, now, that to me was so impressive. I remember sharing that on my company training call that night, and I said, you know what, I wasn't necessarily ready to move, but what I was so impressed was that he consistently knew everything, and this is how he ran his business. And I wondered how many people said no, that people just say, you know what, okay, they're not interested. This gentleman stayed the course, and he came back to me again, and he said to me, okay, not a problem, I'd like to stay in touch. How about I call you 6 months from now this time? And I said, you know what, Mark, do that. Just for the connection, just to build the bridge. I was so impressed with that. But who knows? He might have called me, at that point in time, and I might have been ready the next time. And so just because someone says no then, it doesn't mean that they're not necessarily interested. I was really impressed with him, and if I wasn't happy with my company, I would have said, you know what, you're so professional. The very fact that you called me back exactly when you said you were going to, even when I didn't remember, for me it was just this random phone call. Then when he originally called me, I'm like, okay, next. It was just kind of like, I'm busy. I'm in this mindset of being very, about what I'm doing. But the second time that he called me, I was beyond impressed that he was consistent. He was professional. He was respectful. He did not bash what I was already doing. He simply said, I've got something amazing. When you're ready, I'm here. And that, to me, was what you call fortune in the follow-up. That was the best example that I've ever seen anybody give, to be able to do it in that manner and still remain professional, not trying to talk me out of what I'm doing. He respected that I was happy, but wanted to stay in touch for just in case I ever was open.
Wow. And those kinds of people we definitely want to keep in our life. It sounds like you're always open to listen to what else is out there, even if you're happy, even if you're situated, because we never know what these relationships may turn into. And so yes, staying in touch with people that are consummate professionals is so wonderful. And he said, are you open yet? Learning to ask those very clear questions, and that he was respectful. We don't ever want to put any business down, any people down. We want to honor our profession. We want to uplift our profession, and we want to find the best fits for people, because for some people, they want to do something that you can do in your home. Some people want to get out. Some people want to have meetings. Some people want to do things on the phone. Some people want to be with certain kinds of people. So there's many, many different opportunities. There's lots of kinds of businesses. And one of the things I like to ask people is, help me understand, what's a typical day for you, to see if that would be kind of a fit for me. So let's see, we got a few more minutes left, Moni, and I want to see if there's anything you want to make sure we cover that I haven't asked you about yet. So what else inspires you these days that keeps you going and continues to support your great success?
I think for me, I love to enjoy what I do. I like to remain professional, but I also like to have fun with what I'm doing. I like for business to be enjoyable. And so I love to enjoy myself with it. I think a lot of times, especially in the beginning, I stressed myself out a lot because of the situation that we were in. And I knew that I wanted to transition from the daycare to doing something that was more fulfilling for me personally, and also offered me that residual income. I wanted that, where I could inhale and exhale. And you talked a lot about choice and being able to choose the business, being able to choose the people that we work with, and being able to do so with people that we like and that we enjoy. And it actually makes it so much more fulfilling. And so that, for me, is really the bottom line of why I love this industry so much. It's unreal to think about the fact that we are able to do what we do, to make friends, to learn new skills, to grow personally, and to get paid for it. It's really unreal. And, I've had, a lot of ups and downs in this industry. I've had companies that I love, and I've had companies that have been, we're not harmonious anymore. And that's okay. you know, the thing about this industry and this profession as a whole, that's why I love what we're doing here, Robin, with Enlightened Networking, is that we're serving the industry, we're serving the profession, we're serving the people. And that's really what it's all about. And if people can look at what we're doing with this model and say, you know what, they're taking Enlightened Networking, they're willing to share with us what makes them tick, sharing from their hearts, you know, how they do what they do, you know, how they were able to do it professionally, and to stop doing it, you know, as a hobby, you know, just because I remember getting really excited the first time I made $500, and I'm like, ah, I did it, you know, but then it was just like, okay, you know, I kind of went on and kept doing my other things, but then I'm like, wait a minute, if I made 500, I can make 1,000. If I do this again, you know, I can make 2,000. And if I do this again, what could I create for my family? And that's my heart. Like, that's my passion, is what, how I can involve them, how we can learn to serve people, how we can grow, who we can meet new, like you and I meeting. You know, I believe it was by divine intervention. I mean, we just clicked, and it was wonderful and beautiful, and that's what this is all about. Like, it's the beauty of these types of things. You never know. Like, we didn't know each other, you know, a few months ago, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, there's Robin. Hi, Robin, I love you. You know, and we see these such new people that we grow to love and to care about, and want to invite them into our lives and into our worlds, and share and grow and learn together. Like, that's what this is really about. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. And so, no, I never disrespect anyone in another company. I try to give professional courtesy, and because, you know, you never know how we may be in relationship again in the future. You just never know. There may be a time when there'll be a fit that works for both of us.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And this, you know, Moni and I both have, I think everyone can hear it, as a passion for the profession. And you said it so beautifully. We get to learn and grow together. We get to support other people in growing. Gregory and I like to talk about it being a greenhouse. It's a really safe place for people to grow and learn, and it's totally okay, and even more than okay, to just keep making mistakes, because it's a safe place to do that, and there is no ceiling. And you know, there's nothing more thrilling than sitting at the back of the room, seeing one of your people up on stage getting a huge, you know, rank advancement or acknowledgement for some great achievement. And so this is a people business, and we're here to support people learning and growing. So we got just a minute left. Any other final comments about your love and passion about the profession, or anything we didn't cover, Moni?
I think you covered everything beautifully, Robin. You know, we'll be continuing to do these. We've got a lot of great things coming up. I was just really excited to share for this hour, and you know, to hopefully give a little bit of insight into who I am and why I love what I do. And the bottom line is, it just boils down to the people, and more than anything. And you hit the nail on the head, that, you know, the business is about you. At the end of the day, the business is about you. It just is what it is, and I love that. I love that, because I don't feel good unless I'm growing. You know, I don't like being stagnant, and so I love that it gives you new challenges and new ways to grow and new ways to learn and new people to meet. And you know, I just hope that when I ascend and I leave this planet, that I will have made a difference, and that I will have touched some lives and made a lot of new friends along the way.
Well, Moni, it was so fabulous to glean, you know, a brief bit of your tremendous wisdom, and I hope people take it to heart, because Moni's success is not by accident. It's because she loves and cares about people. She stays connected. She finds out what's important to them, and continues to grow and grow and grow. So we invite each one of you to get on your path and take a look where you are and where you want to go, and develop some of those habits about consistency and treating it like a business and learning to listen that Moni talked about today. There's tremendous support and wisdom that got shared on our interview today. And Moni, from the depth of my heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been wonderful getting to know you in this way. And so
Thank
as we
you.
shift, it's been really fun. So
It has.
next week, we're going to turn the tables and see what happens then. And then following that, we're going to have Sugar Jones on social media strategy and personal branding, and then the advantages of a home-based business and learning how to win at the tax game. So we have lots of wonderful things coming. And again, we want to thank you for your patience as we're in our little learning curve learning about technology. This is all new to both of us. So I know a lot of you are going to get to see this on the replay, not originally because of my little glitch in the very end, a few minutes. So anyway, we'll get better. We'll just keep getting better. And thank you for being with us, everyone, and joining us. And at this time, it will conclude, and we'll see you next Thursday. And we'll send the link out, and we'll put it on the Enlightenment Networking Facebook page. If you're not on that, please have your friend invite you. We are very honored that you are joining us and sharing with us in this wonderful journey of a profession that we just love. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Robin.